Hi everyone, my name is Ariana Ruwoff, and I am a graduate student and research methods instructor here at ASU. Today we will be talking about research methods in sociology. Let's begin with an overview of research methods. The goal of research methods in sociology is to systematically study social life through carefully planned research processes. We will get into the research process more in depth in future slides. Research studies should be reliable, valid, and ethical. Reliability is the consistency of results, meaning that the same study will get the same results every time. Validity is the accuracy, meaning that the study measures what you want to measure. Finally, an ethical research study is one that prioritizes maximizing benefits and minimizing risks to participants, as well as informing participants of what will be happening during the study. Sociologist Max Weber was influential in highlighting the need for value neutrality, or the practice of remaining without bias or judgment during a study or in publishing results. Therefore, it is important to gain informed consent from the participants by explaining the types of research they will be participating in. It is also important to reveal any deceptions to the participants at the end of a research study. Sociologists utilize the scientific method when analyzing the world around them, and especially for developing research studies. The main purpose of using the scientific method is to gather empirical evidence to explain a phenomenon. Empirical evidence is information that sociologists gather to answer their research questions and draw evidence-based conclusions that have implications for our society. The scientific method begins with asking a research question, such as, how would better access to mental health care change our country? The next step is to review existing sources, including journal articles and books for research that has been done on this topic or a similar one. It can also be important for replicating work that has been done or for developing a new and novel research study. Next, a sociologist will develop a hypothesis such as making mental health care required coverage on health insurance policies would improve the mental health of individuals who seek care in our country. Sociologists will then design and conduct a study using various methods such as survey research, observations, or interviews to gather their data or empirical evidence. They will specifically pay attention to patterned behaviors to gain a comprehensive understanding of the topic. Once data collection is finished, sociologists will use statistical methods to analyze the results and draw conclusions about the findings. The final step in the scientific method is for sociologists to report their findings, either in journal articles or various presentation formats. Let's discuss the components of the scientific method in more detail. After developing a research question, it is important for sociologists to determine what their variables are. An independent variable, or IV, is the predictor variable, meaning that it is the variable that causes change. A dependent variable, or DV, is the outcome variable, and it is the variable that is changed or affected. In our example from earlier, our IV would be access to mental health care, and our DV would be the mental health of individuals who sought care. When writing operational definitions for each variable, it is important that they are specific and measurable. Variables that are specific and measurable will have higher reliability and validity. For example, if we are interested in learning about participants' driving abilities, a question like, are you a good driver, is not specific or measurable, and we will get very general responses from participants. However, if we ask, have you had any traffic citations in the past year, that is specific and measurable, and we will get clearer results. Once we've chosen and defined our variables, we will write hypothesis statements that explain how two or more variables are related to each other. After conducting a research study, we will be able to determine whether our hypothesis was supported or was not supported by the data. After determining a hypothesis, sociologists will begin to design a research study. The Hawthorne effect is important to consider when designing a study and choosing a study location because we want to keep in mind that people who are aware of being observed tend to act differently than those who are unaware of being observed. Another important aspect of designing a study is choosing your sample. A sample is a subgroup of the population of interest. For example, if we want to study mental health care in our country, our population of interest is people with mental health problems in the US. And then our sample could be people from the US who are aged 30 to 40 years old and have mental health problems. An important aspect of determining your sample is deciding which demographics or characteristics you want your sample to have. Examples include participants' age, ethnicity, or gender. Another aspect of designing a study is determining how you want to collect your data. One method for collecting data is survey research, which uses questionnaires to gather information on specific groups. Another method is interviews. This method is used in individual or group settings to typically gather open-ended responses to questions, with the option to ask follow-up questions for more detailed responses. Sociologists may also choose to conduct field research, where they observe participants in their natural setting and take notes on what they observe. There are ethical concerns with this type of research because generally participants will not be informed that they are being observed in order to avoid the Hawthorne effect. A final method of data collection is conducting lab experiments. These are typically highly controlled settings with more certainty in the results of the research. Sociologist Max Weber also discusses the importance of quantitative versus qualitative data in his work. Quantitative data is generally numerical and can be analyzed using statistical mathematics. It is most commonly used in surveys and lab experiments. On the other hand, qualitative data is open-ended responses that can be coded and categorized for patterns. This type of data is commonly collected through interviews and observations. When we are analyzing our data, it is important to determine the difference between correlation and causation. Correlation is simply whether or not two or more variables are related to each other. Causation is more complex, and 3 criteria need to be met to definitively say that our IV caused our DV. The first criteria is to establish temporal precedence, which just means that our IV must have preceded or come before our DV in time. The second criteria is called covariation. Covariation is when participants in the experimental condition show the effect, while participants in the control condition do not. And the final criterion is to eliminate any third variables or alternate explanations for the relation between our IV and our DV. As you go through this class and read articles or watch videos about research studies, pay close attention to the quality of the research methods. If you have any questions or need any clarifications about the content of this lecture, feel free to reach out to your professor and TAs for help.